He's like flashing. It's crazy. Look at that. It's very digital. Yeah.
Oh, I don't like this at all.
Bobby digital.
That's nice. Yeah.
I can just sit here and hold it the whole time.
Shrinking your pores. Yeah. That'll work. Yeah. You're getting electric. You're being electrocuted.
I can just sit here and hold it the whole time too.
Oh, no.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, actor, comedian, and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Welcome to the show. Happy Saturday to everybody. I am curiously enough, and as a big surprise, thanks, Johnny Million. I am curiously enough wide awake, which is a miracle in and of itself since I drove back from Los Angeles last night after I finished my show at 12:30.
And freaking me out, Brian.
Yeah, and Boston Brian is on with us, and he is literally max headrooming, or
it's max headroom.
Yeah,
I don't understand. There's literally nothing touching anything.
It's an internal thing.
It's like we're caught in Videodrome here. What the hell?
Yeah, and by the way, and Johnny Million, the irony that that Brian's having genuine camera problems and working on it. It sounds fantastic, so that's the important part. You, on the other hand, I caught you masking. He's Johnny's working on his pores today. I don't want to know what kind of solution you have your toes in right now. And I
can't urine.
Look, we're all really, you're soaking in it. It's the Paul Mull of petdom.
I'm still here.
Yes, you are. We hear you. You're just in total darkness. And by the way, those who are watching the stream at infotainmentwars.com are seeing Boston Brian in stealth mode. This is the military work for
nothing on this computer changed. I don't know what.
Nope. It's very exciting. Here. Yes, he'll be back. Don't worry. Okay, so let's get into the show. This is a radio show. We do actually have to talk to people. Johnny Million, will you please?
Okay, all right.
Get serious about having fun now. One of the biggest things, and I would love to hear both your takes on it, is apparently, and I guess this is progress, I guess this is good news, Donald Trump and maggot Republicans think there is no longer a crisis at the border. There's no crisis at the border. That's it. What a great thing when they finally come to this realization. Because I would argue any real crisis couldn't wait 10 months.
You would think.
Yeah. Of all things. There he is. He's back and he's beautiful. Look at that. Boston Brian, we can see you fully. Welcome to the show. Happy to have you here, sir. Glad you're with us.
Lo siento.
You do, and you'll clean it up. I'm sure you've been watching this back and forth about the quote unquote border deal.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it's dead on arrival the way they say it is. But thoughts? Any rags? Any bones? Any rags today?
No, I love when a guy with 91 counts against him and 4 indictments across 3 different jurisdictions across this country is telling our government what to do and what not to do with the policies that we enact. That's always a good sign that one whole political party is willing to listen to a guy that was twice impeached, has been known for assaulting women, the various other things that he's known for. And now, it's just out in the open too.
Like, you got to check with him.
He's truthing about it. You got the reports of what Mitch McConnell is saying. I mean,
that's right.
I feel like it used to be a little more like behind the scene than this.
Right. Well, certainly deals. Yeah. When they would cut a deal, behind the scenes, they would, it'd be, a lot of glad handing and backslapping in side rooms and that kind of stuff. And like, if my constituents find out that I like you, I'm done for. So let's just keep this on the DL. But now, here's the thing. Donald Trump is in such a mess. Oh, look at that. He just truthed as we're speaking a couple seconds ago.
Wow.
All caps, witch hunt. 3 exclamation points. That's it. That's the whole.
You know what he did in truth? He did not truth E. Jean Carroll's name.
That's true. That's
what
right.
He's not gonna
He's
truth.
maybe lesson learned.
As close to him following a gag order as we'll ever get.
Well, $83.3 million, and he's got to put that money in a escrow account during the appeal. So he doesn't get to not give it and then hold out and try and not do it again. They've learned how to deal with people like him.
How many messages do you think he sent Deutsche Bank?
I gotta say, I don't doubt that.
Where is his money really?
The exchange rate on rubles is pretty terrible right now. I don't know that he's going to get back up like he used to. But he literally tweeted, or he truthed out, he flarfed out. I don't know. He kofefed earlier. Let's just call it that. All caps. A bad border deal is far worse than no border deal, which is just
okay.
Well, what did he say in the last one? He talks about if the country closes down or something, so be it. It's gonna close. Like what? I don't even understand what he was talking about there. What does it mean close down?
Okay, so this is just 3 years ago. We had the strongest and safest border in U.S. history. That was during COVID when we had more cases than Mexico. So
people would
I don't
sick
know.
to walk.
Yeah, today we have a catastrophe waiting to happen. Well, what are they waiting for? The border's open. I don't understand. It is and this is all caps, worst border in the history of the world. Back to normal caps. An open wound in our once great country. Country is capitalized. I think that's worthy. All caps again. Terrorists are pouring in unchecked from all over the world. Back to regular. There is now a 100% chance that there will be, back to all caps, major terror attacks in the USA. Close the border. Besides the fact that Greg Abbott tried that and almost destroyed the Texas economy.
Out, my wall is crap.
Yes, right. That's okay. I had a couple of epiphanies this week that have been driving me a bit crazy. The first one being is that if the wall works, why do you need razor wire? And we all know that the border has been worse after the wall was built. But how is it that nobody brings up the fact that to build a structure that size, you have to have access road on either side of it? And so the reason why so many... Yeah.
With rolling luggage.
Yes. Well, like you can take a rolling bag to the end of the wall now. You didn't used to when it was just like pieces of wood left over from a fence earlier that was like do not pass.
A trail. It's literally a paved trail.
He did.
To
he literally built migrants a road to walk to the end of the wall and walk around it because it ends at native land. It ends at Indian territory. It's the goofiest, stupidest thing, and I don't know why people don't bring it up because it would really quelch.
Saying more that it was the Border Patrol's design. You know how he likes to emphasize that it wasn't his
lays
design,
it off on them.
He wanted something different, and
right.
So that's how he's kind of trying to snake out of that whole thing. I think.
You think that's because people occasionally 1 out of 65 people is going, how come the wall doesn't stop him? You know what I mean? Like when he's in New Hampshire, Iowa, and one of these people come, I love everything you do. I think you're the greatest. I think the Lord sent you. You're the greatest president we've ever had. Why doesn't the wall stop him?
I told him to build a Hitler-like bunker structure along the entirety of the southern border.
Yeah. The kind of thing that S.H.I.E.L.D. would hide in, or Hydra. We look at Hydra bases along the border.
Really.
Yeah, right. That's true. By the way, yesterday he was kofefeing. There is no longer justice in America. Our judicial system is broken and unfair. I always picture him kind of like somewhere between him in a Gone with the Wind dress, standing on a balcony, yelling these things out with his hands, his tiny little hands on the. Yeah, that's right. Just resting on the balcony going, there is no longer justice in America. Our judicial system is broken and unfair.
He's like the mother in Titanic, I feel like.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. And then at the same time he put out absolutely ridiculous. I fully disagree with both verdicts. And we'll be appealing this whole Biden-directed witch hunt. All that's not in all caps, but all the words are capitalized. So the word
he loves to
directed
do that.
is
He loves the first initial cap.
Well, I use that I use that for a word accent. To me, that's how if you're trying to draw attention to a particular word in it, you can use, there's two ways to do it. One is capitalize the word, and the other is alternate oddly caps and lowercase in a really jumbled way to draw attention to that particular word. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he just does it because he just like gets stuck. Like his thumb just won't come off the caps button, like at the top of every word. Like every word I say is a brand new sentence. Just get used to the idea.
I saw a good tweet from somebody. I was just trying to look for it, where it was basically somebody that Donald Trump has used the same judicial system that he's now attacking to go after people that have supposedly signed NDAs and various such things. So he's, she's now saying this is the same legal system, no different than what he's been using his entire life to go after people and threaten people.
How about the fact that we have not heard a peep from him about the election machines or the process in any of these states because he's won? Not a peep. Not well, it could have been, Haley might have done better than we thought or whatever, but there's just somebody out there trying to, if the Democrats think they're going to run against me, clearly they say they want to run against me, so maybe they're messing around with it and giving me a lead. Like, you're not hearing any of that stuff. Right. You're not hearing, like, we need hand recounts and stuff. Somehow, it just defaults back to normal. We got to take a break and have for commercials right now, but we'll be back right after this with our dear friend Boston Bryan, who's with us, and this is the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million. Go to patreon.com/Hal Sparks and support the show. We had a free comedy show last night. I posted it. We streamed it live. It was a good time. Let me know in the chat room if you got a chance to watch it. If you're a Patreon subscriber and you watched it, I felt good about that one. I barked out what I would put that show last night up against any special on Netflix. How do you like that? We'll be back. Ah!
You need a voice that goes along with it, though, Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
Can't just do the face.
No, not.
Where'd you go? Where am I?
I got you. You're coming back.
That's insanity.
Yeah, great.
It's insanity.
It's great. Listen.
I'm gonna sandwich of that lady.
Ryan.
What's the lady's name from Arizona? The rep?
Your father and I are very proud of you. We are doing so good on the internet webs. Yes, you are. We're so
I'm so
proud
glad
of
I have no aunts like that.
Oh, yes. Well, look. Listen, if you want to live in our basement, you're always allowed. There is
always welcome.
There's a slight
always
fee.
Welcome.
There's a slight fee, but I think you'll be able to afford it once you hit the big time.
It'll be good to have a young man like him around.
You and Destiny and Ninja and Hamas Abi and Boston Bryan. And it'll be like they'll all be rich, and then you guys can like box like Logan Paul. Huh?
Box like Logan Paul.
It's a great idea. It is. Sorry. Oh, good Lord. I love that
We've
one.
got work to do.
Way too much time with this stuff.
Simmer.
It's really just little mouse clicks. It's kind of easy.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Is this how you play the guitar now, Johnny, on your live streams?
Sometimes. There's some videos out there.
Mm-hmm.
I love that this tongue is kind of awesome.
Yeah, it works.
My camera's glitching, but not as bad, so I guess I'm going to leave it for the time being.
Yeah, my camera's glitching
you're
too.
Fine.
I'm dying
You're
to fix it.
You're fine.
There's something up
Don't
with
do
it.
anything.
Literally, I'm holding my breath. No,
Don't even talk about it.
Don't even talk about it.
Jeez, what kind of operation am I running? Can't even talk about my equipment. It's so bad.
Someone in the chat said a lot of programming went into that. For me to wear a weird, funny bunny hat.
It's true.
With a tongue that pays attention to physics.
It's so true.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the swipe screen on your phone. It's like.
Can you imagine if Alan Turing and Claude Shannon were alive right now? They'd just be shaking their heads like, I created this and fought the Nazis and created the first user interface.
To the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So the irony right now is that the most uncivil man in the world, Donald Trump, is effectively calling for a civil war or warning about it and therefore asking for it. And I know my opinion on it. Johnny Million, Boston Brian, civil war. You in, you out? Do you think it's happening?
Go ahead, Johnny, you can start.
I can make sandwiches
It's true.
to
He'll
support
work
troops.
Johnny
I'll
will
make
work.
sandwiches.
Johnny will work the crafts table for Civil War 2.0.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about all these amazing things they can do, like, oh, I know hand-to-hand combat. Oh, I know how to survive in the wild. I know how to make sandwiches. Okay.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a sandwich?
And a sandwich is always better when someone else makes it. I think
Isn't
we can
it,
all.
though?
Isn't it though? I don't know. I think we've lost Boston Brian. I mean, how seriously do you take this stuff? I know my opinion. I'd like to hear yours.
I mean, not on a wide scale, not very seriously. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, on an individual level, I'm sure there's going to be some idiots doing idiotic things.
Right. Using this as permission.
Unfortunately, is going to involve some people getting hurt.
Yeah.
But as far as like, them all getting together and it actually being a thing. I mean, I always say you can have the biggest gun stock you can have, but once the Abrams rolls down your street, I don't know how much it's going to be worth,
Yeah.
And
Well,
I don't know
how
many of these people got like shoulder fired rocket launches sitting around.
Well, you got Governor Stitt from Oklahoma this week talking about joining Texas in this, and I guess if you're the governor of Oklahoma, you get very few opportunities to grab a headline. You know what I mean? Unless the musical makes a comeback.
And he was quickly said to, okay, what happens if Joe Biden federalizes the entirety of the, you know what I mean? Now your whole state's National Guard is working basically for Joe Biden.
You gotta love Republican governors who are always like, when they're asked a question, start flipping through the governor manual. You know what I mean? Like, what? Hold on one second. Flip. Yeah.
Brian is freaking me out, man.
He sounds fine. It's all right. It's okay.
Talk amongst yourselves. Talk amongst yourselves.
All right. He's just, yeah. It's just fine, Johnny. You can't torture
There's something
him over
really wrong with his
Johnny,
camera.
get professional, Johnny. Get professional.
He's very sensitive. He's very sensitive about this. It's all right. Look, and you know what's funny is that I'm the one that's supposedly exhausted and drove all night, and I'm the only one that makes sense. So
you're the only one holding it together. You're the only comedian in the bunch.
That is true. Whatever. Yeah. Although there's a lot about you to laugh at and near.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Oh, what just happened, Brian?
He's coming back. He's there. He's there.
Hey, there he is.
We'll see how long it lasts. Okay, so obviously the other big story is that Donald Trump, 83.3, and one of the reasons why he's calling for civil war and trying to get the rest of the world dragged into his own personal hell is because...
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Because he's just losing. And he's losing like the loser he has always been. And I mean, in many ways, I guess he's in a situation where the only wins he can have is if somebody else loses at this point. That's why he wants the border deal to go down. Because if it happens, and I think they've painted themselves in a corner. I don't think there's a way that any of this works in their favor. Because if they vote for the deal, it gives Biden a win and it takes away their talking point. If they vote against the deal or don't bring it up for a vote, they lose their talking point, and they're responsible for everything that happens at the border from that point on. It is effectively the same as them shutting down the government, right? Is that they own the damage done. And Biden came out yesterday, gave remarks on it, and said, it's they're getting more than they could ever hope for. From I presented this deal when I came in. They added stuff to it. I'm good to go on it if they want to pass it. I personally feel like it's going to make it up for a vote. It's going to happen. Because when you have someone like Chip Roy saying two things. One, don't declare Trump the presumptive nominee, and give me something I can tell my constituents that we did.
Right. Yep.
That's an amazing juncture.
Not only that, but don't go back.
That's like a realization.
Deny something that could help
Exactly.
situation
Right.
that everybody's
So
talking
that
about.
I think there's a very strong chance. Robert, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Love you too.
I forgot about Bryantologists. That's still funny.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah. So, but again, in many ways, I gotta say, I talked about this kind of, there's like a thing you do in social media. It's like a technique, kind of like a Gish Gallop, but it's like scramble to bury any really bad stuff in a pile of other things. Like if you ever tweet something out, back before you could edit something on Twitter or any of these sites, one of the things you could do, or if there was a really embarrassing story that came out in the press or something, is you just flood your social media with stuff that will draw attention. And the big story that was doing you damage will get swamped by, stories that may be, incendiary, may be, bad for you in some degree, but they're in your control.
Right.
The stories that you have some maintenance over. And Trump does that all the time. So like when he did the Nikki Haley gaffe, he just dumped a bunch of stuff about E. Jean Carroll. I think
he leaked his own news. That was more than we needed.
You what now?
He said he leaked his own news.
Oh no, God. I mean, you can't tell because it's really close up, and it just looks like a nuclear explosion in a
he did that with the raided Mar-a-Lago
circus peanut
he
factory.
loves being the one to let everybody know, and then complain that everybody knows about it.
Yeah,
right.
Telling everybody about the raid.
Yeah, right. The legal search warrant that he had to comply with. Yeah, but ultimately, though, that's what he did. I personally think the extra $65 million in punitive damages that he got is a fee he had to pay to cover the Nikki Haley gaffe. Like he went online after the Nikki Haley gaffe and just flooded Truth Social with all this stuff about E. Jean Carroll, just a horrified blather.
Ridiculous. It was post after post after post.
And the stories of him smacking the desk and walking out of court and all that posturing really did kind of suffocate.
And he thinks he's slick too because he does it in a way like he posts her tweets or he'll post somebody else posting something else or saying something about her. You know what I mean? So he thinks he's being slick about it. Like, oh, I didn't say it. I just retweeted it. Like that time when he was president, they asked, well, why did you retweet this racist, it was obviously a racist site. Well, I didn't tweet it. I just retweeted it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't read it first as the president?
Right. And you do realize as the president of the United States, there's not this like retweets are not endorsements, like you don't even have that written in your bio.
It was a retweet.
I didn't. Yeah, somebody else did this, which is really, I got to say, key to who he is as a human being. And one of the like laziest, like, we have Johnny and I had a friend from high school who his entire life is sort of summed up in a line I can't say from Army of Darkness, where he basically, they're going to throw all these guys in the pit together and Ash is chained to them. And he's like, wait a minute there, Spinach Chin. I never even saw these a-holes before. Like, this kind of like, I was hitchhiking. Trump has this, a car gets pulled over, body and drugs in the trunk. Everybody's got guns. And his thing is, I don't know these guys. I was hitchhiking. That's his defense in the retweet thing. And that is like,
you gotta. Who are you talking about? You gotta give me a coded hint.
Let's see. Tom and I bailed him out of jail once, and he drove a hearse.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
That's half of Kentucky.
Right? No, this is Chicago. Yeah. So,
I almost fell out of that hearse one night.
I don't doubt it.
It was so cold the door wouldn't close.
Yes, I recall. So the fascinating part is this. I was waiting for this judgment. We're going to see what the judgment is like, obviously, in the New York business case. And he's going to lose his license. That's the primary thing. He's going to either have to put his businesses in receivership or he's going to have to start a new LLC and transfer ownership to stuff in Florida, which is more than likely what he will do in the process. But some of his properties will be like held until he pays the fine. So he won't be able to sell them or transfer them to another business. So they'll kind of sit in stasis, which is really weird. And he'll probably try to write it off on his taxes is the amazing thing.
All I can do is interviews in the lobby. That's all I can do.
Right.
Can't go upstairs.
Just stand under my name. There it is. Big as life. Donald Trump. Gold plastic. But look. Gold plastic is gold. It starts with gold. It's plastic, but it's gold. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Does he have the $83 million? Does he have the 500? Brian Karam thinks it's going to be more than $500 million that he's going to lose, and I'm in agreement with him. Is that where the flip out is coming? And is this what's triggering his, the evacuations of gas from his cranium that he is making all the time? We'll be back right after this.
Doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question, Hal. Do you think the Republicans and the leadership are banking on people not really paying attention? Like, I feel like they've gotten away with so much that back in the day we used to be like, listen, the American public would not stand for this. They're going to call this out. They're going to. With the border deal, I'm talking about. So
no, there's and we could talk about this on the air, but there is an attention span cycle that is not as short as people think, but it definitely is finite.
Yeah.
Right.
And in it being finite, I'll just say it on the. I'll say it.
I was
with
gonna say,
you
you
here.
can save your
Ask me that.
thoughts.
Yeah, ask me that when we come on, because it's a good conversation to have about both how because it's not just how the Republicans are handling it; it's about how the Democrats are handling it too. And Biden's been really smart about this stuff.
Trump, I just hope enough people are paying attention. Because a lot of people have the whole.
You don't. You want them paying
on,
attention in a couple of months. And you want Republicans to think people aren't paying attention. You want them to stack their L's. We'll talk about that when we come back. I have a theory about that, and I stand by it. Did you see Lauren Boebert's debate?
No.
I did not.
They
I was trying to catch up on that camp and the Russian base that was hit there.
Yeah. In Belgorod or whatever, the plant, the port.
There was a couple, and one in Donetsk area there too. The down in Crimea, they got no water.
Mm-hmm.
In Sevastopol.
Yep. And I think there's an ammunition rope-a-dope happening. That's my personal feeling. I think
they pushed their supply lines way back. If you look at where they were to where they are now currently, they did push them way back. Up over 380,000 soldiers lost.
Yeah, Russian soldiers lost. Yeah, good Lord.
And I know nobody ever likes to talk about it, but I mean, on the Ukrainian side is an extremely disheartening number. Let's just say.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: the Ukrainian side, though, that number is not surprising for a country of that size that's been attacked by a country the size of Russia.
Right.
The Russian side having those losses is extraordinary and bizarre. Thanks. I will have a Coke after all. Thanks, man.
They started putting like bombs and making like the Kalashnikov cartridges that you put the bullets in. They've started making those as like little IED type things.
Yeah.
And now everybody's asking whether or not, if it's against the Geneva Convention. I'm like, Russia doesn't care about the Geneva Convention.
They had they're behind South Africa going after Israel. Thank you. To just basically undermining the worldview, the International Criminal Court.
Well, so that's hugely dangerous because everybody picks up those everybody uses it.
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Oh my gosh, we were talking about so many things during the break. And what was the primary thing? You asked me something right as we were going into the break there, Brian.
I was curious if you think that the Republicans are kind of hoping that the American citizens are not paying attention or are too busy to realize that they're literally screwing them in front of their eyes.
Well, okay, a couple things. One is there's this idea somehow that we have a very short attention span. The American people have a very short attention span, and it is not true at all. And if you don't believe me, look at binge watching of television shows. The idea that we have a 3-minute attention span is completely exaggerated. And when you vary a show at all, people write letters and get upset. That's antithetical to that very idea. Politically speaking, there is a window, depending on how many stories are coming out, of about 21 days. 7 full weeks, or even in business days, depending on whether it's an economic story that has a new update on the regular, or if it's something where it's an investigation and your bits are coming out and it kind of leads you in this thing. It can re-up itself in that and create another 21-day cycle. But then if nothing is resolved in the 21 days, it kind of falls off a cliff and people forget about it because there's always something else waiting in the wings. This is something that Democrats and Biden have a handle on in a way that I don't think I've ever seen a White House have before. Where that's where you saw this setup about the border deal. You can see the timing of, we'll try to get it passed once, then we're going to argue about why they're not going to pass it. Then we're going to try and get it through again through other means. That'll make another cycle of 21 days. That will lead up to the point where they either sign it and give us a win, and then we start building on that part and stack it with the good stuff that we're doing, or they don't vote for it and we add it to the pile of stuff that we make ads about, like we gave these guys a chance to fix the border and they weren't even interested, and it goes into that pile, and then they build stories off of both. And so what you're aiming for is, and this is why we have October surprises, is that right around the first week of October, tail end of September, the 3 21-day cycles up into the election kind of are on the roll from like the last 2 weeks of September. Right. And so you're trying to it's like a volleyball of the story. You try to keep your story in the air and you try to spike anything they throw out. That's the game. It's always been the game and it doesn't change. And so the Biden administration, they got rid of Title 42 and everybody's like, it's got to be a flood of people. And then it wasn't a flood of people. And then the people that are coming across the border now in groups are the same kind of spike you see when the weather's good, and then as soon as the weather was bad, it went back to 500 people crossing. And again,
it's amazing that all the prisons in the world are empty now.
And the insane asylums. It's amazing. Well, not just insane asylums, mental institutions as well, like both of those. Yeah.
Well, you got that one doctor that is still sitting at the hospital that nobody is at,
to do,
waiting for a patient to come in.
Poor guy, tears in his eyes, I think, as you lined up the shot, tears in his eyes. But this, yeah, right. So no, I think the Biden administration are they're handling this masterfully. The Republicans, sometimes they're pretty good at it, right? This was the goal behind the laptop BS, was that's why they made it an October surprise. And it was within 21 days of the election, because you could keep it up in the air, but it's not enough time for you to investigate it and find out it's garbage. Right. Just enough for it to float around, cause trouble, put doubts in people's minds, and then by the time they find out it was all BS, the election's over.
Similar to the effect that the Comey
with Hillary, yes, absolutely. Right. Yeah, that there's something, that there's still a there with Hillary. That was exactly what that was. Right. Same thing. And by the way, what happened, it was 6-8 months later, actually it's fine. We looked into it. It's all done. Right. But election's over at that point. Now, we're starting to get wise to it. The American people are getting wise to it, and because of all kinds of stuff, from AI to social media savvy on the part of people, there's going to be October surprise memes going forward in the next election cycles. That, you know what I mean, especially the presidential cycle. It's going to, there's going to be memes of like Bugs Bunny with Hassenpfeffer pulling it out and going, I call it October surprise, and it's really nothing. That kind of, you're going to see that kind of stuff, because we're on to the game now, and it's not that weird. So they've got to, the Republicans have to try something else. But the problem is, you got to really strategize to get a story like that in. You really do. You got to plan this out, and they can't because Donald Trump keeps stepping on the hose. That, honest to God, every time they've got, okay, we have a talking point. We're ready to go. We have this laid out, and we're gonna. This is a perfect thing. We've got our message, and the wording of it makes Dems look like idiots, and we're gonna sit on this.
And then hold up, wait. Donald Trump just truth something that ruins our whole thing.
Exactly. Just threw a monkey wrench in the whole thing again for like the third time today, right? And that's honest to God. Like I've said this a bunch of times, but it bears repeating that this. Thank God this idiot was in charge of January 6th, because if anybody with half a brain we'd be living in Trumpistan right now. The reason it failed is because he's an idiot, and he's a loser, and he's always been a loser. And even when he wins because of his position or fame or being born, already rich, he still screws it up. This is a billionaire who can't afford to pay someone like E. Jean Carroll $10 million and shrug it off. He's so bent out of shape.
Still owes for Trump rallies in like 2016.
Yeah, but those are red states.
You know what I mean?
They'll eat it. I mean, look, I'm sure David Koresh didn't pay for dinner with some of the teenagers in his compound like he said he would. That bill is still due, but they just look past it. You know what I mean? They're people of faith. And I got
wallets on Epstein's plane.
That's right. Yeah, right. Right. I left my checkbook with Ghislaine Maxwell. Also,
nice lady,
yeah.
Good lady. I wish
nice
her the
lady.
best.
I wish her well. I wish her again.
What are you
so many of these things would
She's
end
like
anyone else's
selling
career.
of pictures you do not want to be in.
He's
Oh
so
my God.
bad at hiding it though. It's
Yeah.
like you can't. Come on.
And in parallel with everybody else who's in a picture with her, being asked about it, and they're going, she was at an event and everybody was taking pictures with everybody, and I don't really know her that well.
West Palm Beach ain't that big.
Right. And I'm against it, and Epstein was terrible, and da-da-da. Like, that's easy to do. Meanwhile, Trump's like, I don't know, nice lady. A lot of trouble. She's having real trouble, I hear, getting out of jail. I don't know if they'll let me have a cell with her, or there's co-ed, or how this works, whatever. Anyways, maybe she can give me some
that happened
tips.
To Jeffrey. Terrible thing.
Get
to the bottom of it.
To her boyfriend. Something bad happened to her boyfriend. That's how he read it. So it's incredible. So
Nikki Haley. Like I thought he was gonna keep going. I was like, wait a minute, is my computer messed up?
Nikki. Wicka, Nikki. Right.
Yeah.
I tried putting it into a song.
Yeah. So, and again, I think he's written off the chance that she will actually, I guess, have a, some sort of, turn a corner. But I don't know. And I think she wins a couple of states. This is the weird part. He's going to get the nomination more than likely. He'll have the number of delegates he needs to win. But he can't let her win even one state or one area. Or it'll still dig on. What's that little town in New Hampshire that, Dixie Knox, whatever that place is, where they always
on the
pick,
radio, sir.
I know. They always pick the winner or whatever. It's this tiny town. They have 6 votes or whatever, and they're the first ones to turn their stuff in New Hampshire all the time. Dixville Notch. Yeah, I was right. So Dixville Notch, they vote first. And it's only 6 people in town. She got 6 out of 6 votes for that. And he won the state by double digits.
I think she blew it, New Hampshire. Really, Hal. I do think she blew it. She had a really, really good chance of taking down that state if she just, I don't know. Now, I think now it's all what her donors want now. If she
pay for.
If her donors think that her staying in this can take away from Donald Trump, in the long run, then I think it's worth it for them to keep fighting, even though they
Yeah,
know
I
they're
think
not gonna
they're
do
there
it,
to
you know what I mean?
like to chip away at him, even if she's not going to do it by winning.
But in New Hampshire, I thought she had a really good chance of taking down that state. With the way that the voting works there, with the way that
Yeah,
being
it's
in New England, it's somewhat. There's a lot more
it
independence.
was
in New Hampshire
rigged.
than anything.
It was clearly a rigged election. We rigged it again. They rigged. I say rig. Rig is the word. Rig is how I say it. I say it's rigged. Rigged. And we rigged it this time, so I'm fine with that. We rigged it my way.
They call it the climb.
My way. Right.
You guys all call the climate the climb, right? That's what you. That's how you.
Yeah,
reference
that's
the climate.
my
the hip
Like
kids.
You're in a
Yeah,
when you're in a friendly conversation. You know what's going on with the climb today.
With the climb these days, yeah. Like when Greta Thunberg texts me, that's what she does. Hashtag what up
She's always
climb.
like, what about globe warm?
What have you done for the climb today?
What up glob?
The
glob
glorm.
warm. By the way, 54 minutes ago, he just texted in all caps, election interference in all caps. And then, is he here today? We'll be making a big speech in Nevada today. Nevada caucus up next, then off to South Carolina. Polls indicate massive wins in each. Make America great again. And and then he wrote 302,000 migrant encounters in December, an all-time record. I don't know if you want to draw attention to the fact that you just told them to not do a deal about the people crossing and just go wait till November. Just let it happen.
And they think they're being sly too, because the more they go out and say the border's open, the border's open, the border's open. People from other countries hear that the border's open, the border's open, the border's open.
Yeah.
And then they think, oh, sweet, the border's open. You know what I mean? So then
I know Joe Biden.
Brings
a lot of people think I'm
still
still the real president. I'm great. I'm the real president. Get used to the idea. Biden's
and
a
nobody
fake
talks
president.
about this is still the effects of COVID. Like a lot of the areas that these people are coming from were ravaged by COVID. A lot of people died. The government doesn't take care of them. They're on their own. There's no food, no water. The healthcare system doesn't exist. A lot of these places. Right. And what are you going to do when I think it's pretty smart of people to come to the country that just happened to recover the fastest out of any country on earth. Economically and is prospering rather significantly.
Are you saying that
soon after the worldwide pandemic that we just went through?
Better than anyone else in the world, to the point where Larry Kudlow yesterday goes on and said, if I had these numbers, I'd brag about it too.
And then he's like, the Kudlow account or the Kudlow whatever does well.
The trust. So Kudlow has his own.
What he says.
Yeah, he has his own investment trust that people can, invest through him. And
nobody
again,
picks up on that. Well, it's like, okay, Larry Kudlow just told me his investment trust is doing rather well.
While he's telling everybody
the economy on Fox Business. It's like,
just simply because Joe Biden is president. And also, he benefits if there is a crash and he knows when it's going to happen.
Right.
So again,
Josh Hawley had a good clip too that you could play, but when he comes out and tells everybody the truth, it's like, we want this whole bill to be DOA. We should not do anything to give Joe Biden a win in any regards. You know what I mean? Regardless if it helps the American people or helps his country. We cannot give him a win.
Yeah, again,
it's like you used to not be able to say that stuff out loud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you used to have to dance as a politician.
Back quite frankly, when you used to be able to, we got to take a break, but you used to be able to say that kind of stuff because somebody you could say they misquoted me. This is on video. Everything's on video now. Everything. And the fact that he said it on
article,
even us. I think there's a camera on me.
I insist. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Oh, John. Oh, okay, he's doing it on purpose. I recognize that. Don't even.
Or if you Peter Navarro, this is the camera right here.
Yeah, right. That was amazing.
You recognize this one, Hal?
These cameras are on. That was amazing. Johnny doesn't watch my show, so he doesn't get these.
No, never.
Okay, we got about this will be a shorter segment. We got about 6 minutes before we bring Phil on at the bottom of the hour. Boston Brian.
This is another good one.
There's Gaza. There's any myriad of things we could talk about, but that in of itself. You want to tee up Ukraine with what we were talking about too, because there's a bunch of stuff.
Picker upper. Thank you.
new KIA count, the strike on the base.
Mhm.
Do you have that? Do you have that pulled up? You have the more like specific details on it.
Yeah, hold on. I'll find the whole thing.
I think there was 24 soldiers killed, if I remember correctly from what I read.
Because the Rosneft plant, and then there's the let's see.
I mean, you talk about the ongoing fires that are happening in and around.
Just said that we need a pool on how long it will take for Trump to start defaming Eugene Carroll again.
Oh yeah.
And so they're guessing that it might be at tonight's rally.
Ooh,
yeah, I don't think and part of this is he's trying to like call their bluff because he thinks he can use this, and this is the cheaper case to do this. He can get people to pay his bills, or he can kind of afford this,
or he knows he's gonna die before he has to pay.
Oh God,
45.
Thank you.
I'm fine with that. Thank you.
He's just.
And I'm serious. Maybe he knows something that we don't. Maybe he's just. This is like his last hoorah.
Nah, he is. If he really believed that, first of all, he wouldn't allow himself to believe it. He stole his medical records from the doctor, like basically shredded him or hit him. Like he evaporated him. It's just goofy. So.
Ronnie Jackson, great doctor.
Great doctor. He said, I've got more of his watches in my ass.
He was almost arrested at the Texas State Fair.
I'm starting to understand why I don't have as much time to talk during my segments, because Devin's bumpers are 3 minutes long.
You want a quick promo, Hal? You got a quick promo, Hal.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks Radio program. Megaworldwide, Chicago's Press Talk, WCPT AM. Woo! Yeah!
I like it. I'm impressed.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, we love Devin. And thanks to everybody in Chicago for being amazing. Start of I'm predicting start of a really good year for us in the station and the messaging and all the stuff that we're doing now. Philip Bittner's going to be joining us at the top of the next hour, and Boston Brian, I know, is up on a lot of the stuff that's going on in Russia as well. There have been a bunch of hits, not the least of which was one well within Russia up near St. Petersburg, where they hit a port and a refinery. It was a huge explosion, but the idea is that if you hit oil at room temperature, or below, it doesn't really blow up like a Hollywood movie. It doesn't even catch fire. It's just that kind of thing. But refined gas does, and these the weird part was, and this was my favorite part of the whole story, and I don't know. By the way, follow Boston Brian on his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And you're on Twitch. Are you on Twitch as well, or just?
I'm not on Twitch yet. I got to get that up right now.
We'll fix that.
Really close to watch hours on YouTube. So
excellent, great. So yeah, follow him over there, and it's just at Boston Brian on YouTube. Just youtube.com/@Boston
At them Boston Brian on TikTok.
Great.
Boston Brian everywhere else.
Right.
We also have a Patreon Zoom later today. So
excellent. So one of my favorite thing about the most recent strike in Russia, beyond the fact that the Ukrainians used these cheap small drones to attack this oil and gas refinery, was that I guess all the people who know how to do everything, who are like engineers or smart at all, have either left the country or been sent to the front to die, because these idiots,
even the people to fight the fires. You know what I mean?
Well,
even the people that try to put the fires out. I mean, there's a specific way you got to do it with these plants,
That's right. And they did not. They just used water like it was a house fire.
Yeah, hose it down.
in sub-zero temperatures, which a lot of people, who enjoy beverages on the chilly side know that water expands when it freezes. And after explosions, when you're spraying stuff down, delicate equipment and pipelines and tanks, not rolling tanks, but the kinds that hold gas. And Johnny,
oh yeah,
you're our expert. But that if you spray water on these things, it will freeze, expand, exactly, and then wreck all the gear that the explosion didn't destroy. I heard that story, and they damaged the place so bad, I almost believe the CCP had taken over fire suppression for the Russians. It was that
Well,
awful.
the place looked like what the apartments in Moscow look like right now that don't have heat and running water and burst pipes.
It looked like it looked like the library in the day after tomorrow.
It's like Narnia. You know what I mean? It's like just the whole building is frozen. Like there's steam coming off the walls. You know, the hot water is just flowing under the buildings because the pipes have burst under these, units, and everybody gets their water from the same source. All the radiator water goes through the whole building, comes from this, it all. So if that pipe bursts, nobody gets anything. And so I mean, there's a lot of it's just incredible scenes coming out of a place that is the most developed area of Russia, the most well-funded, the most taken care of, the most looked after, and this is what's happening.
Right, and there's been a serious drop in refined fuel sources from Russia to the tune of I want to say close to 3 million barrels, which in any normal situation. When's the last time you heard about a 3 million barrel a day drop in gas and oil being from the market?
OPEC did what, 6 million a day the last time we heard about it?
No, they did each country was doing 500,000, so it ended up being about 3 in total. And then then a bunch of them were arguing about who would do it because the poorer countries don't want to stop producing because they're getting money they need. To them, any price is a good price, and to the Saudis, every price loses money because their expenses are so high. Same thing with the Russians. And so the idea that it used to be that you drop production like that by about 3 million barrels, American gas prices and oil prices just would go through the roof. But right now, and this was a story that came out at the same time we got all the good economic numbers for the last quarter, was that America is now producing more oil than it ever has. We are now producing more oil, 13.3 million barrels a day, with fewer drilling sites, with fewer oil.
Let's go, Joe.
Oil wells. Yeah. With a 28% drop in sites doing it.
Why didn't Trump think of that?
Because he's incapable of processing the details necessary to even say yes to something like that. And it doesn't make any sense to him.
That only brought shale oil from Canada, and then we still goes out to market anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. That part of it is amazing. And his whole drill nonsense. And even all the oil companies are like that. We don't have to drill anymore. We can get these pipes that go sideways.
That's why all those permits are just sitting there. The 9,000
they don't need them.
Permits that aren't being used.
Right. And he's like, more holes in the ground. Great. What? Not right next to our aquifers? How much do you think the price?
I've heard, how he talks about Anwar all the time.
Right.
There's a guy on TikTok, which I know you hate, that works in the oil industry. Just does this whole thing, and he's talking.
I don't know the guy, but I do hate TikTok.
Nobody drills
what he means. Right.
What is it?
No, I was just kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, he talks about the reason that nobody goes there is because it's not worth it. You know what I mean? It's just you wouldn't be able to produce and make money at a profit doing it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't.
Good Lord, did we learn nothing from the Steven Seagal opus On Deadly Ground?
Yes,
the Alaska oil drilling movie, reference. Right? Where they take all the chemicals that come from getting oil out of the ground, and when they're done with a well, they pump all the toxins back into the earth and then cap the well and shut it down, and they're using old valve covers, and it kills the workers and that kind of stuff.
To helicopter this one guy in to put the whole thing out.
That's right. And you have I believe a Chinese American playing a Native American who's he asks her, "Can you ride a horse?" And she goes, "Of course, I'm a Native American," which is the horses were brought here by the Spanish, and they're from the Middle East. You're a crazy person. I don't know what's happening. But that was back when he was sane and there was hope. And those days have long passed.
There's another good story that I heard recently.
It's weird that Gary Busey is less crazy than Steven Seagal these days, but
isn't that madness?
Right? That's crazy. That's unbelievable. I can't even think about that.
Hey, Boston Brian's we're all big fans. Okay. Boston Brian, he's amazing. And I love him in everything.
Gary Busey's best effort was Black Sheep.
I love that movie. I don't remember doing it, but I remember the Zagnut I ate at the premiere. That's all I remember. But I remember give it up for Boston Brian. We're going to have a break here in a second. And this Johnny Million fella, I swear to God, he is as tall as you'd ever want to be. That is weird. He's got fingers like spiders. That's just upsetting. And now he's a cartoon character. Or he might not be. I might just have some mushrooms in my spinal fluid that kicks in whenever I arch. We'll be back right after this. All right. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. I have a secretary, and she is dynamite. Whew.
She's dynamite.
It's my favorite line from The Firm that he does.
You must have a filter with big teeth that gives you big teeth, like Gary.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
You get what's up, Phil? What's up, buddy?
There we go.
Like no audio.
Oh wait, hold on. Should be able to hear him. Yep. No, I don't see anything yet.
What about this? Huh?
Oh God.
Gary Busey's mouth.
Mm-hmm. Ew.
What's he pointing to?
Phil, we don't hear you, Phil.
Oh, it's like charades.
Keep working on it, buddy. We'll get you in here at some point.
But yes, I was going to talk about, and Phil could probably talk about it even in more detail, about a group of Russians that are fighting for the Ukrainians that blew up a train, that derailed a train about 3,000 miles from from the front lines.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty cool story.
Okay, let's see.
He'll figure it out.
How about now?
Yeah.
Hey, now I hear you. That's good.
Okay, there we
Let's go.
Excellent.
Phil, I'm not going to lie. I've been dodging you since our last interview. Only because my audio was terrible and it ruined the whole.
Oh, no. Oh, shit. Well, we'll do it. Oh, we're not on air.
We've got to fix the audio.
Do it again.
So there's like a clicking the whole, and there's no way I can. I tried for a few days.
Hey, I totally understand. I get where you're coming from,
That's
man.
Great.
I know it. That was great. It's like I look
kind
like
of a Steve Harvey look too.
It's somewhere between Steve Harvey and Gary Busey and Freddie Mercury. It's like an
insane Freddie Mercury.
I'm like South Park Freddie Mercury. That's what I am right now. Mama just killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. Goodbye, everybody. I've got to go. Gotta leave.
Hello, Wembley.
Listen, darling, it's wonderful right now. We've got only a couple of hours left to play. And don't forget, the new album is wonderful, but we've really learned nothing, if I must admit. And this is my roadie / beard, if you know what I'm saying. Anyways, we are the champions, my friends, and we'll keep on fighting till the end.
Oh boy.
Phil is so
Before I
disappointed.
click this filter is called neck beard.
Hal, do you want me to head out, my man?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
this is about what it would look like if I tried to grow in my facial hair for real.
Yeah, because I don't have another window for you, or I would keep you with us.
No, don't worry about it.
So,
I just didn't want
Hey, Brian, drop me a line and we'll do it again. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate it, Phil. I
apologize.
Thank you again, Hal.
No, that's fine. Just drop me a line. We'll do it.
Yes.
Later, buddy.
Drop him a line. Mm-hmm.
I am dropping right now, right?
Why is this? How am I? Okay. All right. I'm gonna find this somehow. Don't worry about it. Where the hell? Which one is this? No, because I want to keep it.
There we go.
It's great.
Here's my Phil beard.
Oh. There it is. Oh,
Ukraine!
That's disturbing.
Fantastic.
That's very
Don't worry about
disturbing.
it. All right. Yes, I know it is. All right, here we go. Back to normal. There we go. Now I got to swap you out. Goodbye, Boston Brian. See you later.
Later.
You're amazing.
Bye, Brian. Love you,
we
buddy.
love you.
Guys.
You're
Thank
fantastic.
You. I appreciate it. Later, chat.
Reach
See you
out.
soon.
We'll do it again.
Yes, thank you. And we'll go over to this one. We'll pop this in, and then we'll grab Phil's thing, and we'll copy this. And then I'm not afraid. I'll make next time, I'll make I got to make another frame so I can have multiple people in here.
Yeah. I'm not afraid.
We'll just have a big get-together.
There you go.
There he is. Hey, look at that.
There I am. Hey.
Magical.
Spectacular.
Modern technology.
It's
Yay.
Coming back in 20.
It's wonderful.
It's wonderful, you know. And what
Are you barking?
movie would you say? Because I've seen none of your work.
One of the best characters you ever created.
It's so good.
Like Jiminy Glick?
Yeah.
That and the smoking lawyer. I know that. I know that. You don't think I know that?
Why wouldn't I know that?
Not a
Of course I know
strong
that.
swimmer.
Why wouldn't I know that? Of course I know that.
I don't care for you if
Why wouldn't I know that?
like you're troweling out.
Plus faithful lipstick.
Who said that? I didn't say that.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back to the show, and again, reminding everybody to follow Dem Boston Brian, on all of his sites. And joining us right now live from Kiev is our dear friend Philip Bittner, who is alive and well and with us, and that's always a good sign. Johnny Million is also with us, and he is going to be farming questions from infotainmentwars.com and twitch.tv/AlSparks to ask Phil about what's going on in Ukraine. But the first one right out of the gate, because we are all your mother now, how are you doing? How's life in Kiev? And what's the rumpus?
Well, I wish I had better news, but we haven't had a chance to speak. I think you had conflicting commitments on Wednesday.
Yes.
So we didn't have a chance to speak since Tuesday.
Right.
And Tuesday we got hit very hard. We had a major Russian attack in the early hours of Tuesday morning, and and then it has just been, bad news after bad news when it comes to American continued support for Ukraine. But the thing that happened on Tuesday that made this all very real for me was so Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, comes on my phone at around 6 a.m. because he is the voice of the air raid alert on my phone, which is something he did because he supports Ukraine. Anyhow, and we just started getting anti-aircraft fire. You could hear it going up into the skies, and there was a distinct explosion, which made me realize that this was a serious attack. And so I was considering, do I go to a shelter? Do I just grab my helmet and kind of shelter it internally within my apartment? Because I have a safe spot in my apartment, which is a concrete little section of the wall, which is part of the structure of the building, as opposed to like a plaster wall. Anyhow, while I'm deciding this, I look out my window and I see what turned out to be what I believe to have been an S-300 anti-aircraft missile. Because it was one fuselage flying. You can see, and when the Patriots fire, they fire in groups of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 missiles at a time. So I see this one S-300 go up, and I because I've seen the Patriots in action here several times, and I'm like, why aren't we firing Patriots? Why are we firing S-300s? What's going on? Well, in retrospect, it's because we're not providing Patriot missiles. And we don't have enough Patriot missile systems internally within Ukraine. I am convinced that one Patriot system, there are apparently 3 of these things in country. One that we get, if my stats are correct, and don't hold me to this, but I think we provided 1, we might have provided 2, and Germany's provided either the third one or the second one. Either we've given 2 or the Germans have given 2. But there are 3 internally within Ukraine.
Right.
And I believe that there's the reason why we did not see a Patriot missile launch on Tuesday was because the Ukrainians have had to either hold back because they don't have munitions, or secondly, they have been forced to make a decision because of our dithering and our lack of full-fledged support to this country. They've been forced to make a decision on whether or not to protect their cities, including the capital city, and the citizens that live therein, or to use them in an offensive capacity on the front lines, because we've had a lot of Russian aircraft shot out of the sky down around the Kherson front. What a disgusting, awful, incriminating indictment of who we are and where our political situation is, that the GOP would decide that they would force Kiev to either defend their people and the cities that exist and the citizens that live within those cities, or to use those patriots down along the front line and protect their soldiers. That's what it's come to. That's what the GOP has done to Ukraine. It has forced them to make a decision to either keep their civilians alive or to keep their soldiers alive. What does that say about us? Right. I am beyond angry right now at the GOP and what they're doing. And the fact that we know openly that they won't, that it isn't tied, they've tied Ukraine aid to the border. Well, they don't care about either. They are so cynical. And I mean, Ukrainians are dying every single day, and we have not received any substantial amount of munitions or replacement systems from the United States in who knows how long. Secretary Austin says we can't continue to provide until, some change has been made, some decision has been made in Congress. And the fact that the GOP has been so, the words fail me how angry I am at the way that they have let down this country. And when most Americans support defending Ukraine, in fact, the vast majority do. Yep. And yet they're going to screw over this country and our own just so they can get that tyrant reelected. It makes me I've been really angry, Hal, since Tuesday. I have to admit. I have been in a constant state of incredulity and anger. I mean, I knew that there was a chance that the West, and in America in particular, might drop the ball here, there, or the other place. But to see it done with such cynicism and with such callous disregard for human life and Ukrainians who are fighting to keep Europe free, and that is no small claim. They are literally, this is the line in the sand. Right. And they are so cynical that all they care about is power. And it's just, I've called my congressman, I've called my senator. It just, it's been, and having to explain it to my Ukrainian friends has been some of the most difficult stuff I've had to do in months. It's just, you look these people in the eye, and they had hoped that the shining beacon on the hill that we're supposed to be, that it would be something that they could follow, and yet we let the GOP just chuck these people under a bus, and I'll never forgive them for that. Never. This is awful. This is really awful.
It is very curious to me that, the initial argument was tie Ukraine and Israel funding to the border bill, and these people will take it because they will do anything to get, their question answered. And then it ultimately ended up being a situation where the Biden administration accidentally on purpose called their bluff. Literally pointed out the fact that they're interested in neither. They're not interested. They're certainly not interested in helping Israel or defend itself. They're certainly not interested in Ukraine defending itself. And they don't seem to give a damn. There can be no crisis at the border if you can wait on anything that works for it. The idea that you would make the perfect the enemy the good in a crisis is really weird. It's like it is literally like someone is bleeding out in front of you, and you have towels. But they're like, no, I'm not going to put any pressure on the wound because I'm going to wait for stitches, right? That's effectively that's the argument that they're making. It's crazy, and it makes no sense. That said,
No, it doesn't.
there are a couple of things. One is that and there's movement in the European funds that are going there, and that's where the United States is dragging a little bit. But we're also, the Biden administration is finding ways around it as best they can to make sure that stuff gets there, and it is for the most part. But it's getting thin because they're having to do this circumventing, through NATO route using every other pre-allocated amount of funds or munitions or materials when we know it's going to Ukraine. If we're adults, we know this is where the problem is. We should send the solution to the problem. We know who's been bitten, so we know who needs the anti-venom. So you send it directly to them. You don't send it to 3 other people and they'll hand it off there just because somebody doesn't like the idea that these folks aren't dying of being bitten by a rattlesnake. And it's very weird. The odd part is that it's really, we always talk about how the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Matt Gaetz and others are in the pocket of Russia or that kind of stuff. Almost, I would say, too flippantly about it because, I believe those are the kind of allegations you need evidence for. And it might just be that they're awful. Here's the thing. I think it's entirely possible that Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Matt Gaetz of the world and some of the Freedom Caucus want Russia to win because they're terrible people, not because Russia's paying them.
Travelers.
They're fellow
travelers. They're white Christian nationalists, which is what
and
Russia's
he's a
all
strong
about.
man who supported Trump, and if he's powerful again, he can support Trump and help him get elected again. And this was one of their backups. Vladimir Putin helped the NRA stay afloat for years. Therefore, he's a friend of mine. That's it. And maybe they're getting a promise of money later. Maybe there's bribes going on, but I don't even necessarily think they need it because they just don't.
And they might also not even know. They might be useful idiots.
Right.
That's entirely possible at all. But when you look at here in Europe, people like Viktor Orban in Hungary, who is also being obstructionist when it comes to giving aid to Ukraine. Now there's some positive movement on the ground here in Europe.
Hold that, and we'll talk about that on the other side of the break because that's important.
We need to do it in America too.
Yep, I agree. And that's weird because Trump is using Orban as an example on the regular, and the only parallel story right now is what we'll talk about after the break. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more Johnny Million and our friend Philip Ittner. Check out his YouTube channel and watch his vlogs from Ukraine, and we'll have questions from our chat room when we come back from the break as well.
You love it, Phil.
That's yeah.
Everybody crazy about a shot, man.
I think
I've been listening to a lot of Primus lately, and he went through.
That's fun.
Old Les Claypool with a period looking like that guy.
Jerry was a race car driver. Drove so goddamn fast.
Never did
flag. Never did
come in last.
Captain Smith was a strong
man. One of the greatest ever.
Man alive. It made him retire at the age of 65.
Have you seen the Geddy Lee show, Bass Players Are People Too?
Yes.
I've seen the interview between him and Les, and it's just fantastic.
It's delightful.
I mean, he's Les a talented man. Whoa! Yeah. I remember seeing Primus in the '90s because I'm a San Francisco boy. I was going to San Francisco. Oh, look at you! I was going to San Francisco State University. I'd go see Primus So maybe oh my God, maybe I'm trying to relive my college days.
Hold on, this is better.
At least
I like
it. Oh boy!
Come on now.
Oh boy! I'll tell you what. A Cossack. You kind of look like a Cossack.
Yeah, I'm basically a Cossack who worked for Foghat. I'm a Coss Hat that's my crossover band.
You just need a top knot.
I was in Three Dog Night for a long time.
I know I'm only on 1 day a week. I get it. I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow. And a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's going to be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
All right. I'm just getting my fill on in here while we're going to get some questions
Oh,
from
look at that.
the chat room.
Hey,
Yeah, it's a good time. This is, yeah. We will get to, I have questions about the downed aircraft that we will get to at some point during this, because that's a hinky story.
It is.
Well, maybe we just jump right into it. So it's
Sure.
IL.
It's an Illusion 76. An Illusion
76.
76.
IL
It would be the equivalent. It's
DC-9.
not. It's a
No,
little
it's
larger
like
than a C-130.
C-130, yeah, transport plane.
A transport plane. It's slightly larger than that, but it's not as large as a C-17.
It's kind of like the for people at home. That's the plane that took off from Afghanistan with all the people hanging on it.
Right.
That's it's that kind of plane. And the Ukrainians shot one down. The Russians are now
Just
claiming
outside
that
of
there
a city called Belgorod.
Right, and
which is on the border.
Russians are now claiming that it was full of Ukrainian POWs,
Right.
which
There you go.
for just for the record is malarkey. I think is the word we use in Dark Brand Land. That is a bunch of hooey. But
I mean, it is okay. So let's lay this out. I believe what are we, Saturday now? So this may have been Thursday or Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We get reports that this cargo plane, this transport plane, is shot down out of a city called Belgorod, which is very close to the Ukrainian border. Mm-hmm. The Russians pretty quickly come out with this narrative of it was filled with POWs,
right?
And this has been a war crime and all the rest of it. Let's address the war crime issue to begin with. Even if it was filled with Ukrainian POWs, it would be a war crime because the Russians
used it to transport and didn't tell people, right?
And didn't tell people. So that's one. Secondly, the manifest says that there are around 70 people on that flight, which means that if it was filled with 60 some odd POWs, which is what the Russians claim, then they had a flight crew of 3 and then like 5.
Yeah, that was the idea. There were 3 guards
protecting them.
It was a crew of 7 and 3 guards for 65 guys, and the people who've
which
been
is ridiculous.
And for the record, there are at least 4 of the people prisoners of war who were listed on that manifest who are alive and have already been exchanged.
Yes.
So the list the Russians put out of the POWs that were on the plane that allegedly they're arguing this war crime, which basically was their war crime because they would be the ones that put them in harm's way. Those
their
folks,
responsibility, caring for
right.
the POWs was their responsibility.
That's right. And the list contains at least 4 that we know of people who were already given back. So it sounds like bunch of garbage.
It's garbage. And they've put out a video just today where they say, look, this is video evidence of the transfer of the soldiers of the POWs, Ukrainian POWs. But if you watch the video, there is no transfer of 60 some odd individuals.
Right.
You see some vehicles pull up because it's a security camera from the airport. So you see some vans pull up to the rear of a Illusion 76, which, by the way, can't be confirmed if it actually was Belgorod. And you see these vans pull up, but you don't physically see soldiers disembarking and getting on the plane. So another reason why this is suspect. Finally, one of the other issues that should be discussed when we talk about this incident, and here I'm going to be a little careful because I don't like to talk about rumors, but I have to address them as well. I address the fact that there are these rumors out there.
Right.
We know the flight path from open source intel of where this particular plane had been previously, and it had been in, surprise, surprise, Iran. Okay, so this Ilyushin had flown to Iran, then it flew for some reason to Belgorod, and then it was flying, again, we know from open source, away from Belgorod. It was flying north, which doesn't make any sense if it was going to be used for a prisoner swap. Now, here we get into the rumor area, and this is where I caution everybody to take this with a major grain of salt, but there's a lot of talk here, and a lot of talk within Ukrainian circles, press corps, authorities, guys who are in the know, that there's every chance in the world that plane was carrying something from Iran or some people from Iran that Russia very much valued. And the Ukrainians found out about it, and they specifically targeted this plane because it either was carrying drones or some other munition from Iran, or, and this is the one that makes my ears prick up, is it could have been trainers, Iranian drone trainers, which would be an incredibly important asset for the Russians. For them to come here and train Russians on how to use the Shahed drones that they've been giving. So, but there was something valuable on that plane. And we don't know exactly what it is, but it's definitely made the Russians angry. This cover story about POWs, it's a bunch of baloney, as you say, a malarkey. The very last thing I'll say about it is, knowing the Russians, if that plane was filled with Ukrainian POWs, it's been days now. It was hours when I first made this point. We would have seen video or photographic evidence of a lot of dead Ukrainians.
Well, that was the thing. There was like 7 bodies at the site.
All over.
Yeah,
exactly.
And there was video available of the actual plane going down. And this goes to it's not surprising that Russia is kind of using Hamas's techniques and vice versa. There was a video I pointed out yesterday on my on the morning stream. I was talking about that, like, NBC aired it. TYT went double down on it of a guy waving a white flag with 5 other people, and you hear gunshots and they fall down, and they blur the video out because the guy falls. There's an edit in the video that everybody just breezes past. Like, there's a cut in the video. Why is that camera guy just standing there filming them as they magically walk towards this place in the shot, and then stop filming when they drag the guy around the corner afterwards? You can see a guy pouring fake blood onto when they're gathering around him in the shot. It's just like, you can criticize what's going on, and you can believe that it's important to stop a war and all that kind of stuff, but you don't have to buy hook, line, and sinker the kind of garbage that's out there, because it undermines your argument against it. You know what I mean? Because there's a big group of people who would rather the violence just go on completely uninterrupted. The Trumps of the world. Trump would, if he was in power, he would tell Netanyahu, flatten the place, and he would hand the keys to Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. Just say, do your worst, fill your boots, man. I don't care. And that is the key difference between him and Biden, where they're trying to negotiate in a very difficult situation with a bunch of folks that are digging their heels in for their own interests politically in this country or professionally in this country, and in others around the world.
We are in an information war. Make no mistake about it. We have to, we should be talking about this much more than we are. We are actively engaged in an information war and in political warfare. The Russians are infiltrating a number of countries. I mean, we know that they are supporting any European party that wants to stop supplying weapons and arms to Ukraine. We know that they've infiltrated, and particularly in Germany, they've done it, and in France, they've done it as well. But we need to recognize that the Russians are fighting a hybrid war. They're fighting a war that isn't just kinetic. It's about political power. It's about information warfare.
Yeah.
And we
Because
need
they
to wake
can't-
up to it.
And they can't win
Because
the
they can't
kinetic
fight
war.
on the front.
The
They can't
more,
win. That's right.
Right. The more aware you are, if you're a logical person at all, that you are dealing with a team or a group of people that cannot win by fair means. Vladimir Putin, Hamas, Donald Trump. These are the one big thing they have in common is they can't win on the merits. They can't earn the W. So what they will try to do is, make your strengths into a weakness, make your while they make their weakness into a strength. That's the plan. And a lot of that has to do, especially in, post-Soviet era cold, the subtle Cold War that's been humming along in the background via China and other sources since the early 90s is this, this subtle undermining of the social structure in the West and all that kind of stuff that they admit to openly now. In the same way that Yahweh Sinwar says the ceasefire we had with Israel up until October 7th was always a farce. It was just giving us time to attack. Which is exactly why there can be no ceasefire with Russia on those same terms, because they'll just use it as a way to reload and rebuild. That's, I mean, you don't have to force yourself into a naive, corner pretending the world isn't real simply because of the standards don't meet this. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. We'll have questions from the chat room right after we come back with Philip Ittner and Johnny Million.
Well, we didn't get into the Orban stuff, but it is interesting. You saw this, that basically the European Union has decided to stop playing around with Orban.
Yeah,
and they've got a subcommittee, in a parliamentary subcommittee right now drafting a ruling that would deprive Hungary. In the European Parliament, which is 100% legal, totally a legal thing to do. They just have never done it before. And it clearly has scared Orban because he's backing off. And then the Slovak prime minister, who'd kind of been making movements, kind of edging towards Orban, has done a 180-degree turn and is now like, F-16s, that's fine. We're going to give everything to Ukraine. Because I think there are guys in the European Union, and maybe it was spurred on by America's dithering. I think it probably was.
Well, I think who have Blinken and those guys had their working group that works with Ukraine that's always over there and that kind of stuff, and they've been coordinating with all the other NATO countries to get this stuff over there, whether they like it or not. And like Sweden and Finland, interestingly enough, are like chomping at the fucking bit to get in.
Yep.
But whereas
just heard
France
today,
and Germany,
Sweden's giving one of their better third generation fighter bombers, is going to start coming here. I mean, it's just, it's frustrating to see America dropping the ball so badly, but at least the Europeans are stepping it up.
Right.
And I love seeing Orban shaking his boots.
Yes.
Because he knows if he loses, if Hungary loses the vote in Parliament, it won't directly affect Hungarian citizens' right to, freedom of movement around Europe. They can live and work wherever they want. They'll still get European Union funding for a variety of different infrastructure projects and what do you have. It won't affect Hungary per se, but what an embarrassment would that, if you lose your vote in Parliament because your leader is being a jackass, he's probably not going to get reelected. Nope. At least that's surely what Orban is thinking, because he is. His language has changed dramatically. And
again, ironically, while Donald Trump is sort of counting on him to be like his backup, he's a very strong leader, very strong guy, strong guy, strong.
Leader of Turkey. Leader of Turkey.
Great. Loves turkey sandwiches. Like ham on rye. I understand he likes
when I'm hungry for turkey.
Yeah, he's a little guy. Little guy likes White Castles. Can't eat them. My fingers. It makes the only sandwich that makes my fingers look big. I love them. I love White Castles. Make my hands look
Yeah, no,
size.
you make you make a good point. You make a good point that with the European Union chastising Orban, that's going to have ramifications for old Captain Orange Skin. You know, baby.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And his
You're locked into the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Real quick before we jump into the questions, infotainmentwars.com and of course patreon.com/HalSparks. Those of you that are members got to enjoy a comedy show last night that I improv an hour of stand-up at Flappers. I do the last Friday of every month. Our dear friend Brian Karam showed up and came to the show, which was really a nice surprise, along with a lot of our other regular friends, and it was a great crowd, good times. Even though I don't need a good crowd, quite frankly. If you're having a bad day and you don't think you can laugh, come to my show. I don't need you to be. It's not your job; it's my job. I'm there to make you laugh. I don't understand comics and like it was a tough crowd. Well, they're the ones that need you the most, dummy. Anyways, this right here I thought was fascinating, Phil. This is the this is the plant that was bombed by the drones in like north of St. Petersburg. It's a
northeast,
port. Yeah. It's a port and a refinery and an oil storage facility. And these little fires broke out. And these idiots, I'm showing a picture online for the who's at home and who are listening on radio, are putting out the fire with regular water. And that's how you destroy all of this equipment. That's how you do it. If you want to destroy an entire refinery, spray water on it in sub-zero temperatures. You don't even need the fire. That's the funny part. That you could literally, the Ukrainians, if you could physically drop enough water on it, you could destroy it as easily this way as you could bombing it.
And it's also something that every single cook or chef, knows. if you know you don't throw water on a grease fire.
Yes.
You don't throw water on an oil fire because it just spreads. It's
incredible.
But it's worth mentioning before we go to the questions, it's worth mentioning that this is not an isolated incident. It is clear that there is something going on with the heating infrastructure within Russia. Obviously some targeted by Ukraine, but they're going through a bitterly cold winter in Russia, and they are freezing because their heating infrastructure, which is all centralized, is falling apart. So Russians are suffering this winter because of Vladimir Putin's idiotic decision to conduct this war. So
let's
I find it hard to be compassionate, but anyhow,
let's get some questions, Johnny Million.
Sure, we've got a question from a guy you might have heard of, Boston Brian.
Hey, look at that.
All right.
Ask Phil about the Russian group working for Ukraine derailing that train 3,000 kilometers from the front. Please and thank you.
Yeah, there are partisan groups and like partisan fighters, Russians who hate Vladimir Putin. Some of them are actually not quite nice guys. They're even more nationalistic than Putin in some ways. But there are those who are pro Ukrainian and so deep behind. Internally within Russia, we've seen that happen. We've also seen Ukrainian commando teams sneaking past the border. They blew up. There was a big story this week about a Ukrainian commando team that went like 600 miles or 700 miles deep into Russia, blew up a strategically important plane, a command and control plane that was sitting on the tarmac. And then as they were pulling back and retreating back to Ukrainian territory, came into direct contact with Russian forces. Sadly, the commander of the team was killed, but the majority of the team was able to come back. And that just shows that the Ukrainians are able to they have the means, the will, and the capacity to strike deep. And if they can make Russians feel that no place is safe within their own country, they'll get a little taste of how we Ukrainians, we here in Ukraine, have been living for the last 2 years. And again, it's hard to be compassionate when that's happening. That's been happening here nonstop. I mean, there's no safe place in Ukraine. And maybe it's time for the Russians to start feeling the same kind of anxiety.
Right.
I'm going to jump to the Lady Beatrice, who super chatted, even though they do not need to ask a question. You just at me. But Lady Beatrice asks, Phil, what is being done to investigate these war crimes, and what needs to happen to prosecute?
Oh, boy. Okay, so they're documenting everything they possibly can. I know several guys who are actually involved in that effort. Photographic evidence with the evidence still fresh, that's really important. There are things that are happening right now that are being documented. I know somebody who right now is down outside of Zaporizhia along the riverbank there, where they've been attacking civilian infrastructure, and he's taking photographs of that for the International Bar Association, so that they can bring lawyers who can then take it to the ICC, the International Criminal Court in The Hague. So right now it's all about documentation, primarily. There are teams that have been here from the ICC and from other investigative international investigation units. Some of the older war crimes like Bucha and things like that, they are, I'm sure, going through the forensics and all the rest of it. Here's the trouble with war crime investigations, and I learned this from a buddy whose wife is was an investigator in the Balkans, in Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. It takes years and years and years to put everything together and to present a case. It's really difficult because you have to be meticulous, because these are the worst crimes that human beings can commit in many ways. And you want to nail them. You want to get these guys, and you want to get them cold. When everything is locked down, all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted. That's the tragedy of human war crime investigations. I'm sure some of these things are so blatant that they might be fast tracked, because Bucha was there for all to see. Hostomel, Izium. But it's just a sad fact of the matter that these are hard cases to prosecute. But the Ukrainians, not only the Ukrainians, the international community are working very hard to do it. And I know at least 3 people off the top of my head who are traveling around Ukraine doing one of the most important things they can do, and that is get a camera to a place where something has happened, where there is a war crime, and document it. And there's going to be a huge amount of stuff to go through because of it, but it's absolutely necessary. And no joke, we are hopeful here in Ukraine that somebody someday will be standing in a courtroom and will face justice.
Yeah, there is there are a couple of things I want to point out too. Is that there's these reports from the front line right now that are just kind of continuation of what we've seen before, but that and I'll see if I can bring this up so I can show it as well on the live stream. But this is Russia's meat wave strategy is leaving frozen bodies in Avdiivka. Just frozen bodies. Yep. A Ukrainian sniper said. He said no one collects them, and Russian soldiers don't seem to have a task beyond go and die. Another Ukrainian soldier said they're short on weapons and ammunition to beat back the Russians. They need more stuff because they're just these meat waves come and they take them out. Now, on the other end of that, on the economic side, thank you for the super chat, by the way. I can't see; it's very small, so I can't see who it is. But Johnny will be able to pop that one.
It was La Smoocherina.
Oh, thank you, La Smoocherina. Thank you so much. Russia's oil revenues have gone down 37%, while they have increased production by 500,000 barrels. They are selling, according to IEA reports and all this stuff. There's the quote from one of the people at the IEA. It says he's been selling bigger volumes of oil mainly to refineries in China and India, but at discounts of as much as $35 a barrel. So the increased volume does not compensate for the reduced price. So his break-even price, oil is at like $76 a barrel, give or take. It kind of moves around that number right now. Break even for them is $50 to $55. He's selling a good portion of this at a 35% discount, that $35 discount per barrel. That means he is losing money on at least a third of this oil, and then the rest of it is under sanction. So $60, he gets a $10 max out of it. He gets $10 a barrel, where he used to get 50. And in the case of China and India, they have so little money that they're willing to pay for it. He's losing money on that stuff. This is like COVID. This is when they were like, please take this oil because our everything will seize up. The machinery of the pumps and everything will seize up if we don't get the oil. It has to keep flowing. If you shut it down, it's a whole process to reopen a well. And he's selling this oil at, again, break even is $50 a barrel minimum. He's probably selling it around $45 to the two biggest customers he's got, India and China. Let's grab let's take a break and then we'll come back with our happy ending, because I gotta say I myself am now apparently a target of Vladimir Putin's spiritual advisor. It's getting personal. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. I'll show you when we get back here. I don't. Spoiler alert. Hold on. Alexander Dugin, the guy who lost his daughter in the assassination attempt, the complete scumbag, said that comedians are essentially agents of the devil himself.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's no mistake that one of the first things that Vladimir Putin did when he rose to power in 1999-2000 was, well, I don't think he ever had one.
Right.
Was shut down a show called Kukli.
Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! I got my happy ending is just the fact that I made it home on the long drive last night, and last night was a really fun show, really good time. I'm enjoying the fact that I've graduated from last Wednesday of the month to the last Friday of the month in the late show. It gives me a lot more flexibility as far as material and audience expectation, if you know what I'm saying, and I think that you do. So it was a great time. And it relates very well to the fact that Alexander Dugin, Vladimir Putin's spiritual advisor, whose daughter was blown to pieces by a bomb, I suppose, that was aimed at him.
What the?
More than likely by someone associated with Vladimir Putin. That's I guess, the grotesquely ironic part. And is still sucking up to him. Said that comedians are essentially agents of the devil himself, and that Satan, Beelzebub, is the patron saint of jesters and the head of the Humorists Guild. In the Middle Ages, actors were considered servants of the devil, said Dugan. Apparently, there was some reason for this. Moreover, medieval thespians, and watch your tongue, unlike the noble ancient Greeks who valued the high spirit of myth and tragedy in theater, usually resorted to lowly genres. I feel seen. They would make a face, laugh at the noble class, throw a tirade on stage, make obscene gestures. I didn't realize he was even watching last night. I'm just saying, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, Dugan. Come on, if you're gonna, I don't know what his patron name is on there, but he goes, they were, at the end of it, he goes, and the commoners would laugh. They were opening a crack into hell.
Oh my.
Yeah, because dictators can't be mocked.
Right.
That's why our best weapon against Trump is mocking him. Yep. But I'll bring a quick point about that. And Dugan is right. He's 100. Well, I mean, he's right to be afraid of comedy and comedians because it's just a weapon that can't be defended against. And it's one of the reasons why one of the first things when I lived in Moscow and I saw the rise of Vladimir Putin, 1999, 2000, there was a really famous television show that was beloved by so many in Russia because it was a very funny show and it skewered the great and the mighty and the powerful. It was called Kukli, which was just, it translated, it's just dolls. It was a spitting image kind of, if you're familiar with the British satirical show Spitting Image, it was almost a clone of that.
Yeah, Americans, if you don't know what that is, the dolls that were in the Genesis and Land of Confusion video, those are all spitting image dolls of Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan and the King and people like that. So they were borrowed from that show, right?
They had a show in Russia that was a clone of that called Kukli or Dolls. And literally it was one of the literally, it was one of the first things that Putin shut down. Because they can't abide mockery. They can't. It pierces their bubble of invulnerability.
Xi Jinping has outlawed references to Winnie the Pooh.
I love that.
Oh my! Talk about delicate.
Because he looks like Winnie.
Because he looks like Winnie the Pooh. That's the thing. That's what the people. That's what Chinese netizens always call him, Winnie the Pooh, because they think he looks like Winnie the Pooh, and it drives them crazy.
Yeah, it does. My happy ending is
I love Winnie the Pooh, and I think he's adorable.
I do too. I do too. And if you haven't read the Tao of Pooh, read the Tao of Pooh.
Yes, I agree.
One of our greatest sage minds of the modern era. My happy ending is a little bittersweet because the subject matter is rather unpleasant. But my happy ending, the reason why I was showing it again for those who are listening on radio,
screen. There you go.
More center screen. There we go.
20 days in Mariupol.
This is 20 days in Mariupol, which has been nominated
on your lens, Phil.
Sorry. It has been nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, awesome.
Deservedly so. Deservedly so. And anybody who has not seen it, it's called 20 Days in Mariupol. They have decided to make it free to watch. Anybody who wants to watch it on YouTube, you can now watch it for free on YouTube, the full length movie. It is, and here's the bittersweet part of the happy ending. Happy because absolutely justified in getting an Oscar nomination, and it should win.
Right.
It really, if there's justice in the world, it should win because it's an incredible, powerful piece of work. But because it is such a powerful piece of work, it's a tough watch.
Yeah, of course.
It's a news team that decided to stay in Mariupol in the hospital as it got increasingly surrounded by Russian troops, and they're dealing with, it's children. And it's parents losing children, and it's just physicians and surgeons doing the best they can in a horrible situation. And if I want to redeem it with a little bit of hopefulness, there's also a Ukrainian military unit who's in there with the journalists, and they go out of their way. They go out of their way to escort these guys out there so the world would know
Yes.
We talked about war crimes and documenting war crimes.
Yeah.
The armed forces of Ukraine put their lives in grave danger to get that material out of Mariupol so we could have this documentary. As difficult as it is to watch, it will show you why it is we need to defend and help the Ukrainians as much as they do. 20 Days in Mariupol. Go to YouTube, watch it. You don't watch it all in one sitting. If you have to step away, that's fine. It's totally understandable. I did.
Yep.
But it's a magnificent documentary. It deserves the accolades. It deserves to win the Oscar that it's been nominated for. 20 Days in Mariupol. Check it out. It's a hard watch, but there's light in the midst of all of it as well. Right. As I say, there's some amazing people who did extraordinary things to keep people alive in terrible circumstances. So go check it out.
20 Days in Mariupol. It's available on YouTube. Yeah, just look it up. Enough. You'll be able to find a source for it. Also, Donald Trump has been talking about how he would solve everything in 24 hours and all that kind of stuff, and it's just kind of floated by, and like obviously Zelensky and everybody in Ukraine's like shrugged it off, but the Russians finally answered it. They finally addressed it. According to Putin's press secretary, Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin does not understand how Trump is going to achieve peace. The speaker of the Russian dictator also added that the terrorist country of the Russian Federation, this is from the Ukrainian side, has no contact with the former president. No, we have no understanding of how this can be accomplished. There have been no contacts on this matter, said Dmitry Peskov. Nobody knows what the hell he is talking about. He says he could stop it in one day. And all of them are like, none of us know what he's talking about. Yep. We have no idea how this could be accomplished. We don't even think it could be. And the Kremlin said that it does not understand how an American politician will help achieve peace at all, much whether it's Trump or Biden or anybody. This is their fight and their attack on Ukraine.
And Zelensky's also answered it, by the way. President Zelensky here in Ukraine said,
let's hear it.
Fly on over. Come on over. I invite you. He invited, it was a genius move. I invite former President Trump to come here and explain how we welcome him. He can explain it. And if it's a good plan, we'll get on board. But come on over.
Yeah,
you think Trump's going to fly to Kiev?
He's never going to fly to New Hampshire again. Ever. Ever. He's done in his life. New Hampshire is done. Iowa, bye-bye. Any of these states,
we can't afford it anymore. Maybe he can get on Amtrak or get a Greyhound because
run into Joe. That would be embarrassing.
After losing $83 million,
takes a train and Joe's sitting on the train going, "How's it going, Donald? Isn't this cush?" Yeah, I rebuilt the whole thing. Yeah, it's a part of the rescue package. Isn't it nice? Let's grab a last question because we got like 3 minutes left. 2 and change.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I've got this one's kind of fun from Nick Rich. Does Phil miss anything from back home? A favorite food?
A1 sauce.
No,
I love me a steak with some A1.
Sure,
I know some people consider it a sin. Some people consider it a sin, but I love it.
Not if you love it.
Yeah, ketchup's a sin on a steak, and done.
I have a happy ending.
All right, there we go.
Mrs. Million and I are going to Baltimore in May to see the Baltimore Orioles in person at Camden Yards.
That's fantastic.
It's going to be so neat. We're going to see 2 games, a Friday night and a Saturday afternoon.
Some lovely folks sent Johnny Million some gifts for Christmas via my address, my post office box that I have. And I'm going to forward those along with a gift that I got Johnny Million, which is a big surprise.
Gosh.
And I hope
exciting.
I can't wait till he unveils it on that. And that, of course, and that'll get mailed out right after the giant case of A1 that I'm sending to Phil.
Well, I want to go see the next year when this war is over, hopefully, touch wood. Mm-hmm. I want to go see the OSU Michigan game in person. That's going to be that.
I'm for it. Yeah. Thank you guys, by the way, for tuning in. But we got almost a minute and a half. Do we have a quickie, Johnny Million? Do we have one more?
Here we go. Can you ask about the Russian underground tunnels that the Ukrainians found?
The underground tunnel. The only underground tunnels I know are beneath Orthodox churches, where they're storing weapons and money, supporting the idea that the Russian Orthodox Church in Ukraine is not a church; it's the fifth column. If that's what they're referring to, I haven't heard anything. I know that there are tunnels in like the front line areas, but those are the only
trenches
that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Those are trenches with holes dug back into them that are just reinforced. They're basically trenches with a roof. Is the majority of those things. They're very different than the Hamas tunnels, which if you want to see some big like holy smokes video, go look up the IDF blowing up the tunnels. Good Lord, because there's hundreds of miles of these things, in a very small area, and it's amazing that they're blowing up these tunnels. And nobody's dying in these tunnels. It's interesting. It's just funny how there are just no fighters down there. And Hamas never says they lose a single fighter, ever. That's amazing. They must have the same body counter as Russia does. Anyways, regardless, thanks, Philip Bittner. Don't forget to check out his YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to our show. That helps keep us here. And, of course, share out the videos from our show. And then, of course, follow Johnny Million on Twitch and YouTube because, it'd be nice if that's all you ever had to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Move into that zone so you don't have to do 3 things to stay afloat like we all do.
Talk to you on Wednesday.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Be safe.
Right.
Take care of yourself. Bye.
All righty.
Yeah. Yay. Bye. See you later, Johnny Million.
Bye.
See you later, Phil. See
Love
you,
you guys.
Chicago.
Be safe, Phil.
Yep.
Thanks,
man. All right.
Excellent.
Talk to you on Wednesday, Hal.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right.
And
all right, laters.
Bye. And chat room, love you guys. Hi, hold on one second. Let's see if I can bring you up in here real quick. Yeah, this guy should work. Hi, there you are. I think you guys are great, mate. Listen here. We've been down here about 45 days. We've been working real hard out here, playing these songs, making some music, and then in between sets, walking around the state fair, having ourselves an elephant ear, a little cotton candy, and then getting our freak on with the bearded lady. Look, no matter what happens, there's always a beard involved. In my case, a little bit, there's always going to be hair involved in the process. So whether it's on her or on me, it doesn't really matter at all. I'm just saying it's a good time. And she's a very forgiving woman. So, anyways, I want to tell you guys I really appreciate you being here. I want you to like. I want you to subscribe. No pressure. With 63K, we got to get to that 65 and then hit that 100 mark. Get up there and start competing with these folks because we can't be doing this show with this kind of jack shittery going on in the background. You know what I'm talking about. I don't even have to tell you. All these dumbasses are like 5 million subscribers and yet the same viewer count that we got over here. Something, as my father once legitimately said, and this is a quote, something is bad wrong. All right. Oh, thank you, Mark. I'm glad you liked the show last night. I had a great time. That was a great comedy show, let me tell you. It was excellent. It was funny. We got 63K today. Fantastic. We got 2,000 new subscribers just in the last month. Shit's growing. We're reaching some kind of a tipping point. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for 666,000. That's what I really want. That might be I might even put on pants for that one. All right. Let me tell you what. But we'll see what we can do. Y'all are all right. But till next time, take care of yourself, take care of somebody else, and insofar as I know, now I do not have direct knowledge of this shit, but I have been told that I should fear the kidney. I do not know why I would fear the kidney, and yet, deep in my heart, I'm afraid they might be right. Hey, don't forget to hit that like on the way out the door if you like the show. If you didn't like the show, hit the like button and then unlike it and then hit it again and then like it. Maybe that'll help the algorithm and you'll still get to keep your like and you can leave with a clear conscience. It's a thought.
It's packed. Here I am like an idiot. Where's Dick? Hi, Dick. Do we like Dick? Yes. What?
Dumps. They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
They don't like the gas. Christopher Columbus. Christopher. Free health care for illegal. Action replays in magnified fortune. Michigan gave us Motown. Gave us Motown. Gave us the Mustang.
A ninth world country, not a third world country. A ninth world country. I felt really good